picture.
That history would have, had that history not been, would have.
Is that not a standard?
We did to see sustained history.
Yeah.
So in this particular case, because they were still active cases, none of them were sustained. That's why it didn't reflect in his history. So whenever an officer or an allegation is sustained against an officer, it's placed in his internal affairs unit file, and we do have access to that, and that's something that we include in our summons.
There's a folder called
but I think it's important that you know if there are
But like I said, I reflect in their internal affair information to go off of, just as opposed to a single case in a vacuum.
Group C, I am a member of Group C, and so were the two other commissioners who have never showed up. So Group 25, an officer, police officer complained with a profile by illegally detaining him while he was responding to a call service. And that he would officially put a formal complaint to the system. Basically, what happened is he was engaged with a female who was on the metro bus, a Boston cab metro bus, and a female passenger began to calling him. Was actually the person to back off and ask for the case to be dropped. Because it is he was actually in I think writing this letter from prison. So there was no other information, and there's nothing in the case to show whether the officers were interviewed or not, and whether the arrest, whether his allegation for having support, because there's nothing more but those drop. That's the 01308 case. Then the other case involves the same officer that you guys were discussing.
2475.
Yeah, let me just, my paper's mixed up here. Yeah, 25-02475, use of force. And the officer responded to a stalled vehicle call that turned into a crash. And the officer detained a suspected driver. The officer then, but in the process of interviewing him to verify if he was intoxicated or not, he responded. He dropped the officer. He dropped the investigation and ran along with some other officers to assist a third officer who had been struggling with a suspect. In the process of helping this other officer, he struck the suspect with a flashlight in the back. It says here it's fine. And but that subsequent to that blow, they were able to handcuff the suspect. And when he returned, of course, the individual who was suspected of drunk driving had fled the case. Turns out that the interview on this camera, the interview of the suspect is all in Spanish. So one of the problems that I would see is I wonder if anybody else would have a chance to understand what happened, because there's no transcripts of the whole interview in Spanish. You have to be fluent in Spanish to see what happened in the interview and so forth, right? So this officer was accused of multiple things. One of them would have been the 200.3, which is common impact weapon guidelines. Then also 200.4. This is the general GO. Right? These numbers come from the police identification. And APO usually, when they put their case, they actually use the same number, so you can see what specifically case they're asking for a violation or not. 200.4 is response to resistance, right? And then 402.25 is report writing. There is a responsibility of anytime you use force, you need a specific write-up on that. You need to do that, that's a violation. Whether the use of force itself is justified or not, you were supposed to report it and do a decent report on that too. And then of course, there's also questions on when you do a report, if the report is not done correctly, or there seems to be maybe justifications and so forth, they can also be accused of that. So we also got a 211.4, which is employee report guidelines for all force level incidents. And then of course a 900.4.3 for neglect of duty, meaning, you know, he's in the middle of interviewing somebody and this person fled. So in my review of the case of the interview, one of the things I saw was, I did not agree with APO's. This is just, remember, this is just one commissioner. This is not that we've not done the three people and so forth, but some things I agree with you. Some of them were I thought the interviews were done correctly. They did investigate every single officer that was involved, right? I thought if the questions were not mostly appropriate. Both internal affairs and APO, I think, did the interview in a way that I think followed the right procedure. In the case of baton impact weapon guideline, I did not agree with the violation because I thought of the officer. Well, I guess that back up. What you see is officer interviewing this person, an older Hispanic man, suspected of maybe some alcohol because he had a beer in the car, and the car's crashed. So because it stopped the stalled car, apparently caused the crash, and so they're thinking maybe he was drunk and drive up. So that's investigating. While he's trying to assess what to do, incapacitated, he could start, he couldn't move, so he couldn't do that. So they moved him to the back of the police car, behind the police car, so they could just at least do the first eye test. And all this is, I said, in Spanish. And what you see is a very differential interview with this young older man, asking him how's he feeling, is he in shock, is his back hurting, anything, is he hurt, do I need to call DPO, so I thought appropriate. And then what happens then is the man complains that all his tools are all over the street, so he allows him to go, stop the traffic, picks up his tools and so forth. Somebody's supposed to be intoxicated, picks up all the tools, put the tools up. Like what follows next is the man discussing that who's going to hit my car in Spanish. ¿Quién le pegó mi troca in Spanish? Because clearly we're not seeing the whole picture. We believe that he hit the car, but apparently he hit the car. So he was concerned about what's going to happen there. Where one would think that he's not, that the person not the officer is in the middle of asking for his ID when this other officer, one of his fellow officers, running, dashing, and so he drops what he's doing and runs because it turns out a third officer was in the process of fighting, trying to arrest a pedestrian that was there, and they hear it on. You can't hear it on the camera. You hear the guys. There's some officer under distress, and fellow officers run to get him. So that was his thing. Drop this and then help his other fellow officer, and then the incident with the global occurs and so forth, right? One of the critical things that I think was missing is that both the two officers that are interviewed referred to. Let me back up. There is evidence of a mark in the lower back that looks like a flash, that maybe could be taken a flashlight, a glow. And I think most of us believe that probably that was the flashlight that's on the spine. And apparently just If somebody does a different crime in specific areas, spine, neck, and so forth, that it raises the level of violence. But the officer claimed that he did not hit him in the spine. And what happens is, when you listen to the testimony of 2 other officers, you do, I believe, one of them says the officer performed a strike on the upper back of the subject. And in all interviews, all officer says this person complained of upper neck pain and so forth, not lower back, which was the spine. And so that to me is like, also you see right after the blow, you see immediately the person is, when they're trying to refrain somebody, they want to have them on the back because that's quickly, this person was on the front, so they turned him on, they had the hand behind. So apparently, this blow settled the deal. Once he hit him, they were able to handcuff him. So I believe that personally, in the process of interviewing the 2 officers, we neglected to listen to the officer that we had just rushed to believe what we want to believe, which is like, there's a mark there. The officer tries to say that mark looks almost old. That's not that mark of an hour after, but I think that was added to me that added to the view of the internal affairs, thinking this young man is not owning up to his responsibilities, and I think that provides it. But in my opinion, there was a valid argument to say maybe that wasn't a blow. To the other charge, it's interesting enough, he agreed right away. Yes, he neglected duty by abandoning the suspect that was drunk. But he further got in trouble because when the officer said he left somebody drunk who could then drive off and hurt somebody else, and he said allegedly drunk, and that probably got him in trouble too. But honestly, in my perspective, when you look at it, it's valid. This person was allegedly drunk. So, so at the end, I agree that I agree that and the neglect of duty, absolutely correct too, because he would be, there's a pattern here, and of course I'm biased because I saw the other case where he dropped this young lady and after stopped, arrested the young lady, stopped that, went, addressed this other guy, and this person escaped. So there's a pattern there of forgetting what you're doing and not following through. So, yeah. The punishments, once again, the same thing. Where we're not quite sure is that are these things trainable? Because once again, 24-year-old, I was 24 years. My wife will tell you how stupid I was when I was 24. It doesn't matter to her. And the instinct about a fellow officer in trouble, dropping what you're doing to go help them. We use this time to bring both. We use this time to bring both sides of arguments and so forth. That's crucial in making sure that we do what give a perspective on what we're seeing when we read these cases. There are cases in which I know it's more controversial than some of these, but this is a start. All of these, once again, were ones that already disciplines. The disciplines have been decided, but it's a good test for when we get stuff, or if we ever get ahead of the cases and start having them review before the police chief gets a chance to make a recommendation. Okay. I guess we can move on to discussions and action items. It's come up several times that members of the press has asked for an interview or an opinion in general from the CPRC. And it was recommended to us that maybe we should elect one of the officers to be the media relationship officer or whatever, right? I wanted to propose a motion that we appoint Commissioner Franco Cortez to that position. I beforehand talked to her, and she agreed that she would not mind doing that. So that was it, that would be my proposal, if we, because we want to pick somebody who can be the face of the CRC. I'm not, I don't want to do it, I can't do it, I don't want to. I think she's a much better, person to do it, and willing to do it too. She's the vice chair, so that's what I want to propose. If you guys agree, we just, like I said, we can get that done.
My only reservation is doing it in her absence. I would like to.
Like I said, I checked with her before I think that she would be willing to do it.
But in her absence, I would probably vote against it without her being here to say that she wants to do it. And then my other question is, would it be inappropriate also be spokesperson? Would that be inappropriate?
Yeah.
Well, the way that this came up is that we had a reporter that directly to a commissioner. And so the role that we would play is that our community engagement manager would help coordinate that interview. So what that could look like is she would ensure that the reporter provided the questions for you, allowing you an opportunity to review those questions and prepare for that. You could choose not to do that if you wanted to just do the interviews, coordinate the dates and times you were available for that. And so they did not want to interview us. They actually wanted to interview a commissioner, the chair, or the co-chair at the time. So that's how this came.
This wasn't my intention. They actually were the ones that proposed that maybe we should have an officer who's do that. Because I multiple times have been asked and I keep saying no.
So what happens when they contact us, then we would have to determine who's available or who wants to, and if we had an individual commissioner that we could reach out and say, the media is requesting an interview on this time, these are the questions, we have that single point of contact.
If it's not urgent, could we get an email, something from her saying she's willing to accept the role and vote on it next week?
Well, I have a motion to elect. You can have a motion to postpone. Let's do that. Right?
And so we do have the email in writing and she agreed to.
Oh, that's right. That's it.
You do?
Yes, that's correct.
And I don't know if the agreement was based on that one interview or all interviews moving forward, so.
Yeah, she's been asked before, and so far she's always referred to me and asked me. I said, I'm fine. So when you guys came and said, you probably should find somebody. It's like a natural person do it with somebody who is already. Sometimes looking for a leader, somebody already doing what you're asking them to do, and I find that's why I'm strong. I was strongly recommending it. I think there was much objection, so that's it.
So was her email to agree to do this?
We'll-
Accept this role, or
yeah,
agree
we'll put it
one
in
time?
But I think the email said that she would agree to be the spokesperson.
But you can have taken my word for it, that she and I discussed it at because, we discussed it, and she
She agreed to be the spokesperson for the commission.
So, we can go ahead and vote, and then you can. So, a motion to elect CGRC spokesperson and media relationship officer. Do I have a second?
I second, I think she'd be a great spokesperson.
Okay. And so we go
Can
ahead.
I ask a question real quick?
Yes.
Can we, for next meeting, also appoint a backup? Because just like in this case, she's not available and she may be traveling or something else, and we should probably select another one. But I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, if elected, we let her, I would say defer to her to solve that problem. That's what I would
Okay,
say.
sounds good.
So, I'd like to call that vote now. And go ahead. Any more, sorry, I should say, any more discussion?
Discussion, yeah, we do have the email from Commissioner Franco.
Yes.
Can you read that email to the record. Director again.
And the email is to Sarah, so as he, speaks, Sarah, just so you are aware that Sarah is our, community engagement and public information office manager.
Yes, so on Monday, February the 9th at 11:30 a.m., Sarah received a email from Laura Franco, and it states, "Hello, Sarah, with the chair's approval, I would be happy to handle all interviews and meet requests." Signed, Laura Franco.
That's okay. Trust me,
Sure, it's not good.
I totally agree. Okay. I'm with you. Okay. So are any more discussions? Are we ready to vote on that? So all those in favor of Commissioner Franco being our CPRC spokesperson and media relationship officer, please raise your hand, say aye. Okay, looks like we did it 6-0, perfect, thank you very much. Okay. Okay, the next topic is our future agenda. And over the last few meetings, we have, there's a lot of things that we put back in the back order, say, things, either, and some of them kind of, I was afraid of falling the crack. So I tried to put together a list of all the things that were missing, and then of course we can add any more today. And we needed for them to be in the record, I need to find them, I need to go through and mention them. But I'll start by asking anybody else, is there anything that you can think of right now that we would like to put in future agendas? And by the way, let me take a parenthesis here. The process is usually a week before our meetings. We try to provide liaison, call the chair, what we think is the thing that we want there. It gives them time to go and check with the city clerk and on legal. So it means that if you can think about it, try to have a couple days before you send your recommendations. The process right now has been, if you want an agenda, you champion it, get a second, and send us that. Send the chair or vice chair saying, I have this be an agenda, and second by Commissioner X, and that's the process, and so forth. So this list, what we're trying to go through is not comprehensive. It's just the things that we think fell in the crack, and so please be free to add to that.
What I said earlier is to have a presentation on disciplinary methods from ATL.
If it's okay with you, we'll do that, but maybe we may reach out to our colleagues in internal affairs because it's their policy.
So challenges, just 15.4-D7, that's something we're supposed to put together. And, we want to put that in the agenda. Commissioner Harris is going to give a start. He's not here too. Then review and edit the CPRC's internal operation procedure. We started that. There were some objections to it, but instead we're going to amend that for internal procedures, and that's also pending. Then we also would have a draft recommendation related to access to case files under city code. It's also one that's fell in the crack. A draft recommendation for an online message board for the commission. Once again, some of these we could decide not to drop them or not, but these are all things that we said we'll table and we've not gone back to them. Bylaw discussion and amendments. I think there's a bylaw working group that's supposed to be working on those. It's maybe there's nothing to do, and if the result is that we don't want to change it, that's be it, but I want to make sure we address that in one of our upcoming meetings. Present draft rules and procedures for review by the full commission. Okay. Next will be discussion of the Public Safety Commission's recent recommendations to councils regarding the Office of Police Oversight compliance with the Austin Police Oversight Act. Then consideration of handling confidential versus public information, ensuring the commissioner maintains proper safeguards when interacting with the public. That's very similar to what you're saying here, that we are responsible for keeping, privacy and that's complicated ones. Like you interrupted me, or that's the kind of thing we want to clarify. It's nice to get some guidelines on what's considered public and not, so we know that when we have these discussions, subject to arrest or fine. And then I have the review of ABD's positive office of cases. That was something Commissioner Florida mentioned before. And that's the last I have here. So those will be on record next time, and we can make sure. And once again, a reminder, please, give us some extra time if you have any things you want in an agenda, to please make sure that they get to us enough time that we can do our due diligence before we give it to the staff liaison.
I would like to put on record, and I'll get a second, but before I forget, based on what was brought up today, just having a discussion about making a recommendation for APD to add a dashboard regarding the ICE interactions. Since they said it's already data they send to city council every quarter anyway, if they have a dashboard for transparency for the citizens to see what the interactions look like. And then the other one was, I was gonna ask too, is Commissioner Harris still actively with us? Because I haven't seen him in a couple of weeks. If I know he proposed something you brought up, but if he's not available, I'll pick up the slack.
Yes, I've been in contact. I've been in contact with him and just couldn't make it to this meeting either, but yeah.
Okay, and then you mentioned that we have something due to the chief. No, I think Ms. McCants mentioned something due to the chief in April, and I believe someone's working on it, but can we make sure we get that done? So that I think we have to give her basically the scope of what we want to discuss and everything for the April meeting. So can we get that done for March, that she?
Commissioner Flood, I'll be sending out an email asking for your input on what topics you would like to see her discuss.
Okay, thank you so much. And then, and then my ask is, because APO is doing so many events, it looks like they're doing about 8 to 10 per month. Any way, since we do have the vigilance to do that we can have a discussion about incorporating what we're doing with what they're doing, and we also have a budget so that we can be in the same places at the same time. Because right now, I don't feel like we're doing enough outreach, but they're doing a lot, and it's not a competition. It should be collaborative. So if we can sync our calendars and sync our events and sync our funding or whatever we need to do so that we can be present at the same time. Those are the things I'd like to have for future discussion.
If you fucking get paid $100 grand, you should fucking be responsible and stop delegating your responsibility to SIU. Useless. The oversight in this town is useless. The police in this town are useless. Fucking useless. So yeah, we just had some bullshit from Austin Police Oversight. This used to be the Office Police Monitor, which was the OPM. It was run by a former sheriff, Margot Frazier. No, not Margot Frazier. I'm sorry. What was her name? Oh, I can't even remember her name now. She was working to get cops off on lawsuits, like giving legal advice for pay, sitting in the office. At the same time, she was working for the people, and she was never holding police accountable. Then they turned it to the Office of Police Oversight, and they clean house, and some of the people are still there. Some of the bad people were still there, the ones that covered up for cops. And then recently, in the last few months, they've changed the name again to Austin Police Oversight. So it went from the Office of Police Oversight, which OPO, it went from the OPM to the OPO, now it's the APO. And what, other than branding and marketing, why do you need to change the name? Because nothing's getting done. You see, they're just talking shit. Like, they say that somebody committed an assault and they were fighting, so officers had to intervene. Okay, number one, Texas has mutual combat rules. laws. So statutory law. So if you want to fight somebody and they agree, you can fight. So number one, they have the right to fight. Number two, the officers need to be held up to a higher standard of law. They need to be aggravated assault times 3 with bodily injury. So it should be the highest degree felony you can get if an officer cold cocks somebody, blindsides them, and just hits them while they're just standing there, teenagers just standing there, or while you dogpile a teenager. That's what happened with Officer Garcia and Ledger. And Garcia didn't get fired, Ledger got fired. Hold on. And then what else? Yeah, ag assault. It should be ag assault and battery. It should be a felony. It should be multiple counts under color of law. But again, all they do is pander to these bad cops, and that's why we have bad cops. Why do we have bad cops? Because they pander to them. Let's stop sucking the boots. Eat the boot, don't swallow the boot. Get the motherfucking boot out of your mouth. That's not what they're not for sucking. Cops' boots are for doing work for the people. They're not supposed to be beating down a path with their shoes, flat-footing it, out there protecting and serving. And they're not doing that. What they're doing is they're more interested in officer abuse, officer violence, officer all that kind of stuff. People on the running trail. The other thing is talking about ICE, these administrative warrants. They're not judicial warrants. There's federal case law that's being violated. Federal case law is being violated. Yeah, that's a nice picture. Federal case law is being violated. And it's going to get the city sued. It's going to create a liability. These administrative warrants are civil. They should never have been put into a felony criminal database. NCIC, NCIS, whatever it's called. So that shit's wrong. Hold on, y'all. I'm going to do a little B-roll. This is pretty. Hold on a second. I'll try to pick it up in a second. I don't know. I'm just kind of pissed at the thing. It's just a charade. It's all fake. It just pisses me off. It's ridiculous. And there's a bunch of pro-cop idiots in there thinking that officers have the right to beat you up. Well, you know what? If officers have the right to beat you up, you have the right to beat their ass up, because now there's no law. Congratulations. Congratulations. Hit a cop. If they're going to hit us, hit a cop. Like, we need to fight back. We need to stand up, fight back, and get over the shit that we are below the government. The government is below the people. And if the government's not below the people, you don't live in a democratic republic, and you're not in free. Someone's got their device. I don't know if y'all can hear me. I think I unplugged myself for a second there, but I might have had that audio. Anyhow, so yeah, the government's above the law, but you have to follow every little law. You throw your cigarette down, your dog takes a crap, you know, you forget to put up your fly after going pee, you sneeze, you're on your cell phone, you're in the jail. But the government, pedophiles, murderers, rapists, beaters, abusers, sex trafficking pieces of shit, they're above the law. Super great. Super great. The law's really great. The law's really fucking working out. Ah, bless. I can't just sit there and watch people with half-assed, with no brain. Either they have no brains or they're covering for cops. One of the two. It don't really matter. When the police commit crimes, they should go to jail. If we don't put them in jail, we're enabling police to be corrupt. And that means you don't care about police. So you can't care about police if you let them commit heinous crimes against the citizens. Because you're putting their careers, you're putting the entire everything in jeopardy. Everything. What an awesome. Got a little ball in her mouth. So yeah, it's pretty disgusting to watch these events, to film these events. I'm gonna give my 2 cents. They really don't give a fuck. Those people that we're paying don't give a fuck. They don't understand the law at all. They don't respect the Constitution. And they certainly don't respect our teenagers, our people of color, trans people. They don't respect any of us because they let these cops target us, beat us up, fucking just leave us in a pool of blood, and there's no charges. And they say, well, that's not our responsibility. We don't really know anything. We're just stupid all the time. Fuck all that. Fuck all that. If I punch Gail McCant in the fucking face, I'm gonna go to jail. If Ledger beats up a teenager, he needs to go to jail. It's the same law. I don't understand what's so goddamn complicated for these people. Because they're protectionists. That's why they renamed, that's why they rebrand, that's why they hire these people, is because they are the front. They are the controlled opposition. They're not going to hold the police accountable. They say the word accountability, but they don't mean it. What they mean is we're going to process paperwork and protect the cops because we're buddy-buddy with the cops. So just to let you know, the Austin Police Oversight Office is right down the hall from Internal Affairs and SIU. This SIU. I actually don't remember what SIU stands for. But yeah, it's right down the hall. They go to lunch with them. They hang out with them. They bring them to their meetings. Yeah, they're ridiculous. All that shit's ridiculous. It's all ridiculous. It's all a front. I'm not buying it. You can buy it. I'm not buying it. I'm not gonna buy it at all, y'all. We're down here at Auditorium Shores. People are having a fun time, not realizing the cops will beat the shit out of you, kill you, rape you, bury you in a fucking field. And the Office of Police Oversight does police accountability. So that's not our damn problem. We don't really do that. We don't really care about that stuff. We give it a number, we shuffle it around, we'll come and talk to you and act like we did something, but we're really not interested in justice. That's not what we do. We don't do justice here. All we do is we adjudicate. It's the same damn word. Justice and adjudication are the same damn word. This means it goes to court. They're not putting cops in court, so cops are continuing to get away with this stuff, and then they're moving over to ICE and becoming bad people. So yeah, that's what I got to say today. I'm just gonna let me get some more B-roll here. Set my camera up, do a little more B-roll. Y'all have a good time, enjoy the sunset, and disobey, do something